Sometimes we forget why we're here. It's easy to fall off track. These help us remember.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Growing up, I had a dream, something no one else could see. Tell me what it means when your faith is falling beneath your knees and you can't breathe. Everything you see reminds you of what you're not or something you won't be. You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians or choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business. Not because they wanna do it, just because they heard it pays. And who the fuck wants to be poor knowing that's how we've been raised? Society is getting heavy, I can feel the weight. The pressure of success is like 100 million pounds of shame. And that's the reason I'm staying up late, trying to find a way to escape the stereotypes this day and age is making me feel like the only way I'll be happy is getting signed to a label and making money through rapping. I wanna share my emotion because this world is attacking the very principle of life that lets the people be happy. If you don't have a reason to breathe, why even live? These battle scars are impressions of everything that it is.
Scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Now, if I had a voice that reached 100 million people, I'd tell them there's a reason that we're all created equal. Cause some decide to be great and some decide a sequel to an average person's life is simply what they want to be. So you make your decision, all I know is what I'm given won't define the life I lead or the way I dwell in existence. I've seen a greater image on the walls of where I'm living, and the words twisted and scripted remind me of something written. Faith is a gift that is given down to the people. If one believes it, one receives it. It's given if it is needed. Don't ever think you're trapped in a life that you never wanted. Your options are infinite, that's some mathematical logic. I'm not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers and these battle scars on my church. Not saying I'm a prophet, I'm speaking for what it's worth. These lyrics define my prayers, these battle scars on my church.
Scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battle scars don't look like they're fading, don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Well, hello everyone, and I have this set up. I'm in the hotel room, obviously, as you guys can see. I know the light's not so great. I'm trying to make it a little better here. Let's see. Okay, getting ready for the LNC meeting, which is starting in a couple hours, but I promised weekly. Oh, this microphone's probably. I had to bring this. I'm probably gonna have to hold it like Vanna White, right? Just to get a decent sound, and hopefully y'all can hear me. So I did promise weekly history content, and I fell asleep last night. Oh, my collar's all weird. So I didn't do it last night, so I figured I'd do it this morning. That's weekly, right? It's weekly enough. It's within a day. So I've got all kinds of like miscellaneous items to go over. And of course, if there's anything you guys would like to discuss. Before we get into some of the intro, as usual, please, if I, let me see here. That didn't come up. Isn't that weird? Here we go. If you like what I do, I would really appreciate you becoming a patron at patreon.com. I did pick up a couple new patrons over the past couple days. Thank you, because as you guys know, as of yesterday, I am officially unemployed. Yeah, that's not uncomfortable in the slightest. I just couldn't take my last job, and they were about to eliminate it anyway. I was notified that they were eliminating their remote positions right before COVID, and I had started looking for a new job.
Then COVID hit and everybody was remote for a while. And now that Florida is completely opened up, we're back on track for them eliminating the remote position. So I was going to be out of a job anyway, but I just couldn't take it anymore. So put in my 2 weeks notice, which expired yesterday. I've been interviewing like a fiend, but still do not have anything else. Of course, the wet dream is to be able to do this sort of thing, Liberty content, speaking engagements, full time, but that's still a dream as it is. But if you would like to see me do it more, there you go. The more you know. And wanted to get that off of there. As an intro, before we get started, I had posted about this a little bit on my wall last night and I think this is probably why I fell asleep, because I got like pretty upset, and hopefully that won't happen again this morning because I don't want to mess up my makeup. But this is something that needs to be said, and I wanted to put it like on actually one of these shows in order to preserve it. And I have to, preface this in that I'm not speaking in any official capacity. I am speaking in my personal capacity, though I am reflecting on comments made upon some things done in my official capacity. So that kind of is trying to wear two hats at one time, but hopefully I can accomplish that. Not that anything I say would be like inappropriate, but this is my personal show. It's not an official show. In this party, and in life actually in general, I went through a lot of the first part of my life being pretty nondescript. Well, I don't know if I've ever been nondescript, but long story, religion, whatever. And I find, though, in life in general, there are several kinds of people, obviously, and at least two kinds is people who just can go through life, not make any waves, and as I said, it might as well just be engraved on their tombstone, meh. I'm not meh. I'm very extra, which means I have the type of personality and the type of drive that I tend to inspire two opposite yet extreme reactions. Extreme like or extreme dislike. And you want to know what? I'm okay with that. That's a personality thing. I'm okay with that. And up until recently, most of the people who might not have liked me personally at least have been honest about the fact is one reason, and I could get this annoyance because if there was someone I really didn't like, but they busted ass and like were really good at what they did, that would be really annoying. Because it's a lot easier, like when someone you dislike is incompetent, that just makes it so much easier. So up until recently, most of my detractors admired my work ethic and didn't deny that. But it seems lately there's just a new level of twat wafflery that is emerging. I don't care what you think about me as a person, but my work ethic is without question. Sorry, not sorry. You know it, even if you're trying not to know it. There's been certain attacks. It's funny, at the Colorado convention, one of the laziest people in the entire party tried to attack me on the job I've done as secretary. And you want to know what? Get out of here. I've done a fantastic job as secretary. First 2 years was a learning curve. I'd never done that before. But when I challenged him to give examples, he's like, well, my associates. I'm like, you don't have associates, dude. Come on, please. What? Really? You don't even have a job. You don't have associates. I don't have a job right now either, by the way. And he's like, well, my associates inform me that you make a lot of errors and are late. I'm like, really? Name some. I'll wait. Of course, nothing was forthcoming. But that one is just stupid because that guy, I have absolutely, like, no one had much whatever. But there's this other individual that I don't name names. I don't need to. Because the funny thing is, almost anything with bad actors in the party, if I describe them, you know somebody just like that, even if it's not the same person I'm referring to. So naming names isn't necessary. And for anyone who needs to know, you know, because when I mention it, you'll go, oh God, I know that person, right? So there's a particular individual who seems to have some kind of vendetta against me and is now slandering me to try to say that I haven't done anything with the party records in 5 years. And that is such utter bullshit. I have put in thousands of hours, and plenty of people know it. But it's gross. It's just absolutely freaking gross that people have to act like that. Yeah. Plus, you want to know something? I'm a volunteer just like you guys are volunteers. Every hour you give me as a volunteer, I am grateful for. And I'm not going to complain that you are not doing enough as a volunteer. But trust me, my husband will tell you, I don't get to see him because I'm doing so much as a volunteer. And in the first 2 years of the History Project, I probably spent 20 hours a week on it. You guys couldn't afford me if you had to pay for me, but I do it as a labor of love. But this all stems from, I'm going to tell you the story where it stems from. So when you see this guy, you know what this is all about, and you realize what a petty Betty is going on. When we first started working on these records, most of them came in a very disorganized fashion. They were just, I can't even describe the amount of disorganization. So Sarah Ellsworth and I spent every Saturday down there organizing the records in what I call a funnel system. And I've talked about this before, where we separated everything into like these bins into major categories. Like this is everything to do with conventions. This is LP news. This is candidates, so on and so forth. You know, there was probably 100 different categories. And then we took the bin of the major category and separated it into subcategories, and then took those and separated them. So as I said, a funnel system. And the historical committee has a very limited budget each year of $2,500. That is not a lot when you are talking about archival scanning. It's definitely not a lot when you're talking about having to preserve items that are decaying, such as 2-inch helical broadcast reels from the 1970s. And the items that were decaying or in danger of decaying, that's where our money had to go first. And to convert one of those could be $600. So obviously $2,500 a year doesn't go that far. And I fundraised, except for this year, I don't think I'm going to be able to, though I need to try. But all the other years, I fundraised our entire budget as well, and it didn't come out of the operating budget of the LNC. So there was a prioritization that needed to take place. And then besides the items that could decay, we also needed to prioritize what did we think would be of the most general interest to the most party members. That's our obligation. And what we prioritized was newsletters, LP News in particular, because that is the item of most general interest. Some things I might find fascinating, as I think the example I gave last night would be like handwritten notes on a 1982 bylaws report might make me all hot and bothered, but that isn't what most party members are interested in. So those sorts of things were towards the end of the priority list. Well, this particular person wanted some more obscure items from a particular year regarding a particular state, which is something that was way down in our priority list. But I did know what general box it would be in because we had done the funneling down, though it hadn't been organized to a granular level because it was farther down on our priority list and it was not in our budget. And volunteers that are actually at the archive, after I think Sarah had already had to go do things with her family. So it's me with a 60-hour-a-week job, and all my other duties. Okay, people don't have a presumption upon my time. So this particular person wanted some items that he wasn't even too clear about what he wanted, but I understood the general category, and I said, well, I have a box that may contain what you want, but I don't have the time to kind of guess and spoon feed like what I think you might want, but I think this is the box you would want to look through. If you want me to have this box scanned for you, let me know. I'll send it to the scanner. I'll let you know what it'll cost, and you'll need to pay that. And this person lost their mind, as if their particular pet project should take priority over everything else. And we already were out of budget for that year. And the fact that I said, if you want a scan of a whole box of records, you needed to pay for it. He just thought that was the most outrageous thing he ever heard. So you'll hear this big rumor that I'm charging people for historical records. No, if they're scanned already, anyone can have them. All of our records that are scanned, send me a hard drive and I'll give you the whole damn thing. But if it's something we don't have in our budget, listen, I'm not spending 10 hours scanning this box for you. You don't have the right to ask that of my time, and I did not have a volunteer to do it. And even in our national bylaws, you request something from the national party, you have to pay postage and copying. That's just the way it is. And this person obviously was of the impression that if these records were still in Virginia, he would have been able to get them for free. He wouldn't have been able to get them because National wouldn't even have known they existed because it was buried in a pile that I sorted with volunteers. And here's what's funny. A lot of you may remember at the 2020 convention, I put out a cattle call for anyone got home scanners, you want to scan some things? And I did get one volunteer. And even though it wasn't at the top of the priority list, I wanted to make this guy happy, even though he was already being extraordinarily abusive to me. I sent this box to that volunteer to scan and gave this guy a copy of that box. And guess who paid the postage to send this box to the volunteer? I did, out of my own pocket. Yet he's still slandering me all over Facebook, saying that I haven't done shit with the historical records. I have to watch what I want to say to this guy right now and about this guy wouldn't be fit for YouTube because it's just absolutely disgusting. Absolutely. So when you see this, know what it's about. That someone got butthurt because they needed to pay for something that they wanted and didn't get to presume upon my time and taking time away from my family. But anyone watching the show knows that I've done a buttload of shit with the historical records. But it's just a nasty piece of work, and the guy's bordering on stalking me. Just wanted to get that out there because I am just tired of this bullshit in this party. No wonder we don't keep people for very long. I don't care if you don't like my personality, but you are an absolute scumbag if you denigrate my work ethic, which is excellent. Sorry, it is. I don't sleep. It's just such an insult to my family and my time to claim that I haven't done it. How dare you? I'm just going to leave it at that before I make invitations to things that I'll just get harassed even more by this guy for saying. So I just gave you the account. When you see him, now you know what it's all about. Okay? Now you know. But let's go on now to more fun things. And no, David's like, do you mean to tell us that your LNC secretary job doesn't pay? No, it doesn't. It costs me about $10,000 a year to serve. And everyone else on the LNC as well. We spend a lot of money out of our own pocket. I am here in Chicago on my own dime, paying for my own hotel room. Nobody, not the chair, nobody on the LNC gets paid. I volunteer on average 40 hours a week for this party. I volunteer full-time in addition to having a marriage and a more than full-time job, which I used to have, which I don't have as of yesterday. So to have people complain I'm not giving enough, who do you think you are? My God. Okay. Now, let's go on to our history stuff. We did not go over, I realized, this is still from the May-June 1973 issue. We didn't go over bits and pieces, which I have right here, which I wanted to because I had said to you guys that the first cover image for when I did episode 14. We're on 14C, that I was going to mention how David Nolan had this weird grudge against that the cover image would be explained later, and then I never explained it. It was it was an image of some paintings of Pablo Picasso, and it turns out David Nolan really had a hard-on for Pablo Picasso. He did not like him. And something weird. This is like one of those they call the Mandela effect things. Almost anyone you ask when Picasso died, they're going to like tell you like 1600, 1500, something like that. Like they think he's a modern artist. I didn't realize that. Like he died like in 72 or something. Like he died recently. I didn't realize that. I thought that was like hundreds of years ago. If that's a surprise to you too, let me know. It like freaked me out. I did not realize that he was a 20th century artist. But anyway, so let's go over here. I didn't bring a long enough mic cord. Oh, here we go. Okay, bits and pieces. I do feel like such a news reporter here with my microphone. Here we are on the scene. Okay, bits and pieces. Hospers, number 1 in 2 movement surveys. Dr. John Hospers, the LP's 1972 presidential candidate, came out on top in 2 recent surveys of libertarian opinion. Most recently, Hospers was selected by the members of the Society for Individual Liberty to receive SIL's Phoenix Award for 1973, narrowly edging out psychologist Nathaniel Brendan. Now, I've never heard of Nathaniel Brendan. I'm going to need to look him up. Obviously, some libertarian guy. This award is presented annually to an individual who has made a significant contribution to libertarianism. In past, SIL members have voted to give the Phoenix Award to Ludwig von Mises, Ayn Rand, and Murray Rothbard. Hospers also came in first in a survey of libertarians conducted last winter by Polyfax Press, a research publisher. In the Polyfax survey, respondents were asked to name the individuals, organizations, and publications that are contributing the most to the libertarian movement. Hospers was named most often as doing the most to build the libertarian movement into a major force, with Tony Nathan named second most often, and your editor, which would be David Nolan, third. The Polyfax survey also asked respondents to name those individuals who had influenced their own thinking. The top 3, and here's this gentleman again, Nathaniel Brandon. Anyone here listening heard of Nathaniel Brandon? So the top 3 were Ayn Rand, Nathaniel Brandon, and Ludwig von Mises. In response to a question asking for opinions of various libertarian organizations, the respondents rated LP, SIL, and the Liberty Amendment as the 3 leaders among publications. Reason, A is A, and LP News got the best rating. So that's pretty fantastic. Again, still in the first year of the party's history. Next item. Libertarian-oriented party makes astounding gains in Denmark. The Progress Party, and I'll have to look that up. I wonder how they're doing. Sadly, they're probably not around anymore. That's what happens to most new parties, in no matter what country. A new party whose main platform planks are a call for the gradual repeal of income taxes and a 90% cutback in the size of government has grown from 0 to the point of being favored by 1/6 of the population. This development, which has occurred within the last year, is driving the old line politicians crazy in Denmark, where the Progress Party has arisen. The party was founded by a fed-up tax lawyer named, never going to get this name right. Okay, David Davis says Nathaniel Brennan was a romantic partner of Ayn Rand. Ooh la la. I'm going to have to look him up. So an objectivist thinker. Okay, so this fed-up tax lawyer, Mogens Glistrup, and apparently has tremendous appeal to many Danes, who are among the most overtaxed, bureaucratized people in the world. A recent survey showed the Progress Party likely to capture enough seats in the Danish parliament next election to make it the second largest party in the multi-party system, thus forcing the other parties to form coalitions with or against the Progress Party. Today, Denmark. Tomorrow, the world. That didn't happen, but Still, I'm going to take a look at what happened with the Progress Party. Now, here is David Nolan's rant against Pablo Picasso, something I did not expect to read in LP News. All right, it's called The Man Who Denied Reality. Predictably, the vast majority of the world's opinion makers went through, and I just love his prose, the effusive gasbaggery that they reserved for the passing of irrationalist cultural heroes when Pablo Picasso finally bit the dust last month at the age of 91. Almost to a man, they hailed him as a creative giant and an innovator. Even the normally staid Middle American Rocky Mountain News was unable to restrain itself from a gushing editorial in which it stated that his greatest achievement was to free artists from the tyranny of reality. Ugh. I don't like Picasso's work myself either, but I tend to like the pre-Raphaelites. Waterhouse, I absolutely adore. Anyway, the fact remains, however, that reality exists, and Picasso could not alter this fact. He did his best to distort and deny reality, and he was remarkably successful in suckering many people into acclaiming his anti-rational creations. But reality continues to exist. Perhaps most ironic is the fact that Picasso, the great denier of reality, was a self-proclaimed supporter of a political ideology that claims to be the ultimate in realism, namely communism. I did not know Picasso was a communist. Perhaps Picasso knew better than the communist theorists. Perhaps he was attracted to communism precisely because it is a reality-denying philosophy. In any case, Picasso is now dead, and hopefully the type of art he helped foster will be buried with him. It's pretty scathing to be like railing on a dead guy like that. But David Nolan apparently did not like Pablo Picasso, to put it mildly. And then next, Ed Clark is the latest Life member. Ed Clark, National Vice Chairman of the Libertarian Party and Chairman of the California LP, has become the 10th Life member of the National LP. Many thanks, Ed, not only for this latest contribution, but also for the tremendous job you have done as New York Chairman, as National Vice Chairman, and now as California Chairman. So I didn't realize he was the chair of 2 different state parties. Then it says the Congressional Quarterly, the highly respected political information service publisher, lists no less than 39 third or minority parties in the United States. Most of these are one state or local parties, but the fact that 39 minority parties exist fairly well destroys the Democrats' and Republicans' claim to represent everyone. Certainly does. New green sheets available, an updated directory of LP officers and so on is available. I do not think I have a copy of that. And last, on bits and pieces, Libertarian publications rise and fall. From all indications, the Individualist and the New Banner have now gone under. That's a bummer. I have a lot of copies of the Individualist. I don't think I have any of the New Banner. I'll need to look for that. But new publications continue to appear. Some of the more interesting developments: Libertarian Option, another one I haven't heard of, a Canadian publication of objectivist orientation, discusses the prospects for a Canadian Libertarian Party in its March issue. And there is now a Canadian Libertarian Party. And then there's the Firebringer, which is a Colorado Springs publication. I've never been able to find that, even though it was local here at one time. Zeitgeist out of Chicago. I'm going to have to look for that. I'm going to just be looking for all of these. New Libertarian Notes. I have some of those. Goes semi-professional and is now the radical libertarian publication. And then Commerce Review debuts with an issue containing pieces by Murray Rothbard and Tony Sutton. So I've got some things to research there. I see. And this is going to be relatively short today because I do got to get ready for the meeting, but I've got a few more things I think I want to cover with you guys. So let me pull these up. Let me figure out which ones I want to. One sec here. that I want to go over because I queued up a bunch of stuff. Let's do this one. I wanted to show you guys this because, you know, it does drive me crazy when people try to claim that the Libertarian Party doesn't stand for the abolition of all taxes. We do. We always have. We did then. We still do now. This is the first press release other than announcing the formation of the party. This is after the party was formed that I've been able to find. It doesn't mean it's the first one. It's the first one I've been able to find. And it's funny. If you look, I'm doing with my finger here, but if you look up in the upper right-hand corner of this photo, you can see where it says Convention 1974. That's because the minutes, or at least the notes, they didn't take minutes back in that day. They said, oh, our recordings will serve as the minutes. Okay. But they did take notes, and the notes for the 1974 convention are all on the back of extra copies of this press release. So they were waste not, want not. But I wanted to go over this press release. So Libertarian Information Services. So it was when they were in Aurora, and it says hold for release April 11th. I don't know what year yet this is. If they moved from Aurora fairly soon after being there, that will be able to narrow it down. We know they were in Aurora in 1973. So this is somehow right around tax day, either in 73 or 74. We know it's one of those 2 years. So libertarians seek to abolish taxation. And you can see the handwriting of the notes bleeding through here. So it says libertarians across the country will be hoisting, that's not a word you hear much, their taxation is theft banners in front of dozens of federal buildings and IRS offices on National Tax Protest Day, April 13th. The Libertarian Party, Tax Rebels of America, Society for Individual Liberty, and several other groups opposing taxation in principle will highlight their protest with picketing, speeches by candidates, nationally recognized authors, local tax rebels, 2 days before the deadline for filing income tax returns. The Libertarians contend that any forcible confiscation of personal property is a violation of individual rights. Whatever beneficial results may follow from taxation, Libertarians are ideologically not, as some like to claim, consequentially or utilitarian-wise, no, ideologically opposed to any initiation of force by government to obtain those ends. The Libertarian Party favors voluntary fees for public services. In 1973, the tax protest was centered in about a dozen major cities. In 1974, okay, so this came out in 74. I can tell by the wording. Okay, so this was April 11th, 74. There probably were other press releases. I just don't have them. In 1974, organizers expect double that figure because of higher taxes and the growing awareness of tax inequities. The Internal Revenue Service reports that thousands of Americans filed blank returns last year, cutting government revenue by several $1 million. Internal Ripoff Service prosecutions have been mainly directed at leaders of the tax protest, with few successful convictions. Several groups are planning complementary protest against debasement of government currency, inflation. The Libertarian Party has also been actively opposing tax subsidies for federal elections campaigns. Okay, one more thing I want to go over before we are done today. It's on the same subject. I just need to find it. I think it's this one. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. Is it this? Here we go. I know you can hardly read this, so I'm going to read it out loud. But this came from the Pennsylvania Times, September 13th, 1972. Candidate would end all taxes. Boston. John Hospers, presidential candidate. A lot of people try to tell me John Hospers was a moderate. I don't think so. He wasn't an anarchist, but he also was not a moderate. Presidential candidate of the Libertarian Party wants all taxes. Was it all? I think I saw all. Did it say all? Yeah, it said all. All taxes repealed in favor of a system of voluntary fees. Hospers, chairman of philosophy department of the University of Southern California, said his party has been ignored by national media. They think we're a bunch of crackpots. They don't know what we stand for. Hospers, whose campaign buttons urge voters to break free from Big Brother, said, "Our political platform is that government should get out and stay out of most of the things it is in now." He said his administration would limit itself to preserving domestic order and civil rights and maintaining national defense. "We want to return decisions to individuals, to the state of individual rights that was approximated in the early days of our republic," he said. "Keep out of the economy and we'll solve most of the economic problems. The standard of living would be unimaginably higher in this country if government didn't hold it down." Hosper said the party platform advocates the eventual repeal of all taxation to be replaced by a system of voluntary fees for services rendered. Hospers was interviewed at Logan International Airport during a stopover on his way to New Hampshire, one of 4 states where the Libertarian Party may be on the November ballot. The other 3 are Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. So that's going to be it for today. Next week, I'll give you a sneak peek of what we're going to be going over. I did finally get a copy of McGovern, The Dangerous Decoy. We've got some little Hospers invitations things that I thought were very, very interesting. That's it. Also what that is, a nice ad for the LP we're going to go over. An issue regarding the 1981 bylaws that I'm really trying to research. And everyone's like, I feel like they're not listening to me when I'm asking the question, because I know for a fact what I'm asserting happened. I'm just trying to figure out why it happened or how it happened. And people keep saying, no, it didn't happen. No, I know it happened. I know I'm being purposely vague. We have the documents. I know it happened. I'm just trying to figure out how. But the primary thing will be this that I found from John Hospers. He did a paper called Restoring Liberty to America. I haven't even read it, but it's on some nice heavy paper. This is obviously something the National Party distributed far and wide, so we will be going over that. Okay, everyone. Hopefully you'll tune in to the LNC meeting today. If you go to the LP National YouTube channel, it's the one with the blue chicken logo. There's an old one with the gray one. I think they lost the password to that account. It's the one with most videos. That old one has hardly any videos. You can watch live. You can also comment live, which I do try to monitor, and I will keep you guys updated. Maybe do a stream tonight about what happened at the LNC meeting today. Let's see, are there any more comments before I go? And again, I do not like doing this self-promotion, but I do need your help if you can. But if you can't, that's okay too. I know how it is. So, all right, I'm just giving it a couple minutes to make sure there's no questions, no comments for me before I get going. I need some more caffeine. Here I am, though. I'm like trying to think of a typical reporter name. Here I am, John. I'm on the scene of the crash. Well, okay. Thank you, David, for your comments. And I see Julian didn't make it first thing this morning. But I will see you guys later tonight. And I hope you have an awesome day. Bye-bye.
You gotta take what you're given, that's how we live it. Don't be mad at the system, it's simply how we've existed. I hear a lot of people talking like they politicians and choose to be an accountant because it's safe in a business, not because they want to